What can you say about Dan Henderson other than the fact that he's got Shogun Rua's number? He's done it twice now. He did it at UFC 139 with a 5-round unanimous decision, 48-47 from all 3 judges, and at 131 of the 3rd round in the rematch, he's done it again, dropping him with a single right hand that made Shogun Rua's nose look like it exploded. He went down to the canvas. Herb Dean stepped in and stopped the fight. It was the right call. So once again, Dan Henderson has beaten Shogun Rua, and after a year, which he admitted in the post-fight interview really didn't go his way in 2013, it seems like Dan Henderson is back on the right track. CB Dollaway stunned a lot of people in the co-main event by knocking out Cezar in just 39 seconds. I honestly didn't see that coming, and I think it's fair to say that Mutanch didn't see it either. So, CB Dollaway can now be called the Brazil Killer, because he does this every time he fights on a card in Brazil. In fact, he said he'll fight in Brazil every single time they give him the opportunity, because he loves the country and he loves the hospitality. Oh, and clearly he loves getting wins every time he goes there. In a fight nobody can be happy with after the finish, Leonardo Santos and Norman Park went to a draw. Santos got 29-27 from one judge, and the other two made it 28-28. And that's basically due to the fact that there was a 1-point deduction for Norman Park grabbing the shorts in the 2nd round. No warning, just an immediate deduction. So, maybe they'll rematch this, but it honestly wasn't a great fight anyway. Park just kept pushing him up against the fence, clinching with him, couldn't get a takedown, tried over and over again, couldn't get a takedown. And Santos probably should have done better on the striking since he had a reach advantage, a 5-inch reach advantage, but that only manifested itself in the 1st round, so his corner gave him some bad advice and told him he was up 2-0 going into the 3rd. Never tell a fighter that. Gian Villante seemed to have things going his way in the 1st round with a takedown and some control on the ground, but then Fabio Maldonado found the striking range in the 2nd and the 3rd, and Villante ran out of gas. So he ended up losing the decision across the board. 29-27, 29-28, 29-28. Mairbek Taismov, go back to the drawing board. You lost to Michel Prazeres 30-25 across the board and got 2 1-point deductions to get there. One for an illegal head kick and one for grabbing the fence to avoid a takedown. This is not a fight anybody needs to see. If you DVR'd it because you were watching college basketball, skip it. Do make sure you watch the Rony Jason versus Steven Siler fight that opened the television broadcast though, because Rony Jason stopped him cold at 117 of the 1st round. In prelim action, Thiago Santos beat Ronny Markes via TKO at 53 seconds of the 1st round, and since Markes couldn't even make the weight, that may be his swan song in the UFC. Jussier Formiga beat Scott Jorgensen via rear naked choke at 3:07 of the 1st round. I don't think Jorgensen can be considered a top 15 flyweight anymore. That's just not happening after this fight. We had a lot of quick fights on the prelims, not the least of which was Thiago Perpétuo getting choked out by Kenny Robertson at 145 of the 1st round. In a rare prelim decision fight, Hans Stringer got the split victory 29-28 times 2 and 28-29 in his 1st UFC bout. And the only fight that aired on Fight Pass, which got bonused onto television because of all the early finishes, Noad Lahat lost to Godofredo Castro via a KO of a flying knee 2:39 of the 1st round. It was brutal. It was worth showing again. He timed that sucker perfectly. Oh, and if you're wondering what happened to the Will Chope-Diego Brandao fight, Chope got released by the UFC because of the fact that a few years ago he was dismissed from military service for getting in an altercation with his wife where he physically assaulted her. So, with the dishonorable discharge on his record, they really didn't want anything to do with him. So they cut him loose, and the fight was scratched. There was no post-fight press conference in Mulvane at the Kansas Star Arena, which is why you saw the interviews you did last night. I was fairly impressed with the card as a whole and the Kansas Star Arena, and that fight, the light heavyweight unification bout, was super close. I didn't really know who was going to pick it up until the judges announced their scores, but I suspected that Emmanuel Newton might have done enough. It was just hard to say because a lot of the time Attila Vey was backing up and using his range and counter-striking and just avoiding getting into a scrap with Newton, and the crowd was getting frustrated by it, but it was a tactic that was working because As you can see from the Emmanuel Newton interview, he had a busted lip and his nose was messed up, so he said it was nothing serious, and he's probably right. I'm sure fighters have suffered much worse than that, but he didn't look like he enjoyed getting hit in the face by a teal of egg, so maybe they'll rematch it again. We'll get a third fight somewhere down the road, but anyway, at the end of the day, the hardcore kid is the champ. And if it didn't come across on TV from watching it, the air just really went out of the Kansas Star Arena when David Rickles lost. They were so into him. They were so excited to see his entrance. They were so excited to see him fight. But it was not his night. Another day, another time, perhaps. And props to Patricky Pitbull. He got back to his winning ways in very spectacular form. You know, again, not the type of thing you want when you're going to have a hometown crowd that's going to be sorely disappointed by it, but you can't say Pitbull was anything other than impressive with that finish. For the rest of my Bellator 113 thoughts, please visit Wrestling Observer for my exclusive report there. For now, Stevie J signing off.